He watched good men lose everything because they were too nice to make the hard move. Niccolò Machiavelli, a man who studied power for decades, who watched leaders rise and fall, who saw kingdoms won and lost, and he realized something most people refuse to accept. Power doesn't care about fairness. It doesn't reward patience. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. Power goes to whoever takes it. And if you hesitate, if you wait, if you're too careful, someone bolder will take it instead. And you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what would have happened if you just made the move. So let's go back. Renaissance Italy. About 500 years ago. Complete chaos. Cities at war, families fighting for control, alliances forming and breaking overnight. And right in the middle of all this is Machiavelli, watching, taking notes, seeing patterns. And here's what he sees over and over. The people who win aren't the nicest, aren't the most qualified, aren't even the smartest. They're the boldest, the ones willing to act when others hesitate, the ones willing to take risks when others play it safe, the ones who see an opening and take it before it closes. He watches cautious leaders who think too much, who analyze every option, who wait for the perfect moment, who want to be certain before they act. And what happens to them? They lose. Not because they're weak, but because, while they're thinking, someone else is acting. And by the time they're ready to move, the opportunity is gone. He also watches bold leaders, people who act fast, who take calculated risks, who move when they see an opening even if they're not completely ready. And these people win. Not always, but more often than the cautious ones. Because they understand something the cautious ones don't. Opportunity doesn't wait. The perfect moment never comes, and hesitation is a decision. It's deciding to lose by default. It's letting someone bolder take what could have been yours. Machiavelli writes this down. He says, fortune favors the bold, and not because fortune is fair, but because fortune is speed. It's timing. It's seeing an opening and taking it before it closes. And bold people do that. Cautious people don't. So bold people get lucky more often. Not because they're better. Because they move faster. He watches a specific leader. Cesare Borgia, ruthless guy. Not someone you'd want as a friend. But incredibly effective at gaining and holding power. And Machiavelli asks why. How does this guy keep winning when he's surrounded by enemies? And the answer is boldness. Borgia doesn't wait, doesn't overthink, doesn't hesitate. He sees what needs to be done and he does it. Fast, decisively, without second-guessing. And that speed, that decisiveness, that boldness, it keeps his enemies off balance. They're still planning while he's already acting. They're still debating while he's already winning. Machiavelli contrasts this with other leaders. Good men, moral men, men who want to do things the right way. And they lose, constantly, not because they're stupid, but because they're too hesitant, too careful, too worried about making mistakes. And while they're worrying, bolder but less qualified people are taking power. He said, it is better to be impetuous than cautious, because fortune is a woman, and it is necessary, if you want to master her, to conquer her by force. Now that language is outdated. But the principle isn't. What he's saying is opportunity doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't care if you're cautious. It doesn't reward hesitation. It goes to whoever grabs it first. And if you're too slow, too careful, too hesitant, you lose it. This isn't about being reckless. It's about understanding that waiting for the perfect moment means waiting forever. That thinking too much is just another form of fear. That hesitation kills more opportunities than bad decisions ever will. Because, here's the truth. Most people don't fail because they make bad decisions. They fail because they don't make decisions. They wait, they think, they analyze, they prepare, and while they're doing all that, someone else makes the move, takes the opportunity, gets the result. And the careful people say it's not fair. They say they were more qualified, more prepared, more deserving, and they're probably right. But power doesn't care. Opportunity doesn't care. The moment doesn't care. It goes to whoever takes it. Period. Machiavelli sees this pattern everywhere. In politics, in war, in business, in relationships. The bold get what they want. Not always, but far more often than the cautious. Because they understand that action beats perfection. That done beats perfect. That moving now beats waiting for later. Now, here's where people misunderstand Machiavelli. They think he's saying, be stupid, be reckless, don't think, just act. That's not it. He's saying, be bold, not blind. Be decisive, not careless. Calculated risk beats both recklessness and paralysis. The bold person assesses quickly and acts. The reckless person doesn't assess at all. The cautious person assesses forever and never acts. And between those three, the bold person wins most often. Not because they're perfect, but because they move while others are stuck. Now, let's bring this to your life. Because you're probably being too cautious right now. You're probably hesitating, waiting for the perfect moment, overthinking. And while you're doing that, opportunities are passing you by. Bolder people are taking what could have been yours. Think about your career. There's probably an opportunity you're aware of. A position, a project, a move you could make. But you're waiting. Waiting to be more qualified. Waiting to be certain it's right. Waiting for someone to tell you it's okay. Waiting for permission. And while you wait, someone else applies. Someone less qualified but more bold. Someone who doesn't wait for permission. Someone who takes the shot even though they're not completely ready, and they get it. And you're left wondering what if? Machiavelli would say stop waiting. You're not going to feel ready. There's never going to be a perfect moment. The only difference between you and the person who got what you wanted is they moved and you didn't. They were bold and you were cautious. And boldness won. Or think about relationships. There's probably someone you want to talk to. A conversation you want to have. A connection you want to make. But you're hesitating, waiting for the right moment, the right words, the right feeling, the right everything. And while you wait, someone bolder makes the move, starts the conversation, makes the connection, gets what you wanted because they weren't paralyzed by needing it to be perfect. They just acted. And action beats hesitation every single time. Here's another one. You have an idea, a business, a project, something you want to create, but you're not starting. Not because you can't, but because you're waiting. Waiting to know more. Waiting to be more prepared. Waiting until you're certain it'll work. But certainty never comes. And while you wait, someone with a similar idea but more boldness starts. They launch imperfectly. They learn as they go. They make mistakes and adjust. And by the time you feel ready to start, they're already successful. Not because they were better, because they were bolder. This is what Machiavelli understood. This is what he tried to teach. That the world rewards action. That opportunity favors speed. That hesitation is the enemy of success. Not recklessness. Not lack of planning. Hesitation, overthinking, waiting for a perfect moment that never arrives. He saw good people lose to bad people. Qualified people lose to unqualified people. Smart people lose to average people. All because the good, qualified, smart people hesitated. And the others didn't. And power, opportunity, success, it all went to the people who moved, not the people who waited to be ready. Now, here's the balance. Because there's a difference between being bold and being stupid. Bold means calculated risk. It means assessing quickly, deciding fast, and acting despite uncertainty. Stupid means not thinking at all, not assessing risk, not considering consequences. Machiavelli was bold. He thought things through. But he thought quickly. And then he acted. He didn't wait for perfect information, because perfect information doesn't exist. He gathered enough information to make a reasonable decision, and then he moved. That's the skill. That's what separates bold from reckless. Most people can't do this. They either think forever and never act, or they act without thinking at all. But the sweet spot, the place where success lives, is thinking quickly and acting decisively. That's boldness, and that's what power rewards. Think about the opportunities you've missed. Really think about them. Were they taken by people more qualified than you, or by people who just moved faster? Be honest. Most of the time, you lost not because someone was better, but because someone was bolder. They took the shot. They made the move. They acted while you hesitated. And now you can be bitter about it. You can say it's not fair. You can say you deserved it more. Or you can learn the lesson. You can become the bold one. You can be the person who moves while others hesitate. You can take opportunities instead of watching others take them. Machiavelli lived in a brutal time. A time where hesitation meant death, where slowness meant destruction, where boldness was the only way to survive. And what he learned in that environment is still true today. Maybe the stakes aren't life and death, but the principle is the same. Opportunity doesn't wait. The perfect moment doesn't exist. And hesitation is a choice to lose. If you want anything in this world, if you want power, success, love, achievement, anything, you have to be willing to move before you're ready. You have to be willing to act despite uncertainty. You have to be bold. Because the world rewards the bold, not the perfect, not the most prepared. The bold, the ones who see an opening and take it. The ones who move while others think. The ones who act while others plan. That's the lesson. That's what Machiavelli saw. That's what 500 years of history has proven over and over. Boldness wins. Hesitation loses. And the only question is which one you're going to choose. Most people will choose caution, will wait, will hesitate, will spend their lives wondering what could have been if they'd just made the move. Don't be most people. Be bold, be decisive, be willing to act despite uncertainty. Because that's where opportunity lives. And that's where power waits for those brave enough to take it. Subscribe for more truths about power that most people are too afraid to hear.